Well, welcome everyone to the Motorsport UK Kartmasters British Kart Grand Prix 2023 here at PF International. A very wet PF International, as we can see out the window here up in the live lounge for this weekend. Last year, we concentrated on winners of Kartmasters. This year, we are going with the theme of Stars of Kartmasters. I'm Chris McCarthy. I'm going to be your host throughout the weekend, and we thought we'd kick off with someone who's going to only be free probably this morning throughout the rest of the weekend. Commentator Anthony Jordan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us, DJ.
You're welcome.
You're about to go down into a very wet paddock
Yes.
for the second time this weekend.
Yes.
We're going to talk to you a little bit about what you've been up to all around in commentating, but tell us how it's been so far. Being back, I mean, the coverage is extending all the time, isn't it, with the Alpha Live team? Tell us how it's been so far.
Well, so far it's been the wettest Kartmasters personally I've had to deal with. I think the last time we had a Kartmasters like this, 2012. So very long time since we've had a proper wet one. And there's a lot of drivers here as well who have never raced in wet conditions that have been coming from Dubai. So we've got an international grid, 27 nations being represented this weekend. 305 entries, so the biggest entry we've had and the wettest weekend. So far, out of all, this is the third one that I've done now, it's probably the most exciting one that we've seen.
Yeah, and of course, with Kartmasters, it kicks off on the Friday.
It does.
So much to get through. I'm sure there's a lot of people that didn't get a chance to catch all the coverage yesterday. Tell us what they missed out on if they weren't with us yesterday.
You didn't miss out on much. It was exciting, though, still. There was time qualifying for the first group of drivers, or the whole group of drivers, and then the first of the qualifying heats. We've already seen the first of the intermediate classification points come in, so we've already got an understanding of who is quick, out on track, who is struggling a little bit with the conditions. Today is going to be a different story, though. Yes, it was raining in qualifying yesterday, but today it's a full wet day. It's going to be raining throughout the whole thing. So basically what we've learned from yesterday is effectively null and void, because today is completely different racing conditions throughout all of it. So effectively, for anyone who is watching, you've not really missed anything. You can go back and watch it, but I would watch today, see what happens, and compare the two. But certainly, we've seen some rapid drivers doing like double duties. I think we've got 17 drivers doing double duties as well, which is unheard of, really, in Kartmasters. I think it was very rare that we saw a lot of drivers doing double duties. But in terms of yesterday, it was wet, then it was dry. Racing happened. Today, it's just all wet.
Yeah.
Not miss much.
And tomorrow, it's due to be dry as well. So what they learn setup-wise here will probably be of no use tomorrow as well.
Null and void again.
Yeah, but it certainly will affect the grids. Now, of course, want to get you up. Everyone can watch the event live. That's always going on. But one thing that we wanted to get yourself up, Stars of Kartmasters, and I think we include yourself in that now, DJ. Of course, when we spoke to you here last year, very much becoming the voice of British karting, along with Henry. I think that's fair to say. Now that's very much becoming an international thing, and congratulations on that. I think everyone who watches karting across Europe are now hearing your voice doing the FIA Karting European World Championships, Champions of the Future. The I Am a Euro Series. It's been a very busy 12 months for you, and set to be another busy 6 months to end out the year.
Yes, incredibly. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, it has certainly been a very interesting career, like I've gone with, because I've only really been in the sport for a handful of years. I did kart back in the day, but over the course of these last 12 months, it has just been thrown upon me. It's kind of all fallen down, but I've loved it, every single moment of it. Going out to Europe, seeing all the European circuits, comparing them to the UK tracks. I mean, we're here at PFI, and you get a lot of drivers come over to Europe and say, I love racing at PFI. It's a fantastic facility. And then I go over to Europe and I look at these tracks and go, wow, these are amazing. You see the grandstands, they look like car racing circuits. And, when you're there, it is such a fabulous experience seeing, the different categories out there as well, with the OK and the OKJs that have raced here in the past, only I think for 1 year. But certainly it has been an amazing experience being out there. I think the biggest thing for me is the weather. It's always sunny out there in Europe. And then we come here one weekend, it's summertime, British summertime, and it's pouring down with rain.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going into those paddocks is certainly an experience, isn't it? The first time you do it. Huge setups with the factory teams. They did come here, didn't they, in 2018 to do the FIA stuff here, in 2017. Is this the closest we get to that kind of racing? Because in British, you do the British Kart Champs as well.
Yeah.
Big setups there. I think it's growing all the time, isn't
Yeah.
it? British karting. Would you say Kartmasters is kind of the biggest thing we get to then the FIA karting stuff?
Yeah, you are right in saying that. The similarities between this paddock and a paddock that you would see out in Europe, very, very similar. Big awnings, big team trucks as well, which is brilliant to see. When you do go out to Europe, though, it is a different kettle of fish because, yes, you have the factory teams. You've got the likes of CRG, you've got Birrell, you've got Tony Kart out there, and they're all kind of like their young driver programs in there as well. And you see them rock up with 4 Arctic trucks. That's the hospitality truck. This is the team truck.
Yeah.
That's that team truck. And it's just, it is unbelievable. You are starting to see that now in the UK, which is amazing. But the biggest thing is that you still see the lad and dad turn up transit, easy up awning.
Yeah.
And that's what we love about the British karting scene as well, which is, I think, one thing that we never want to lose from the UK karting scene is that lad and dad experience, the privateer coming in, bringing it to the big guns in the teams.
And between yourself and Henry, if we can square the two things together, we're here at Kartmasters. You've got eyes everywhere between you. I think across every, from Henry going out to the States, yourself doing everything in Europe. How is the level of British karting over in Europe? I mean, a lot of these guys who raced here in 2020, 2021, now doing FIA. Some of them, like Noah Wolf, back here this weekend again. Yeah, how are we doing as a country over in Europe?
A country out in Europe, in the IAME and the FIA and the Champs of the Future, we're doing okay. We've got some drivers up at the sharp end, the likes of Kian Roberta, who himself raced and won a GP plate here in Kartmasters. He's been doing really well. There's a lot of drivers out there that are just in that sort of area. You've got Finn McLaughlin, who's doing all 3 IAME X30 series. He's doing Champions of the Future and the FIA. He's racing here this weekend. He's also been a thorn in the side in the drivers out in Europe as well, so he's one to keep an eye on. There are so many. They're all in the top 10, I would say. But Henry, certainly, he's got the eyes over in Rotax as well, like you were saying. He's doing a lot of stuff out there. I think another British driver that neither me or Henry have been keeping an eye on, but he's been over there in America. You've got Joe Turney, who's been doing absolutely fantastic. Joe, regular, he's actually here this weekend. He's not racing, he's just with some of the teams. Brandon Carr is another one as well. He's been dominating out in America, and he dominated here. I think he started at the back of the grid.
One from the back.
He was a bit lucky with that one. I think an exhaust fell off in the pre-final, which means his rear tyres were destroyed. So I think it was lucky in that aspect. But still, to go from the back of the grid to the front in Kartmasters is certainly something we've not seen many times, if before.
And I know you've got a busy rest of the year coming up, which might end with an appearance at a Grand Prix as well. So we look forward to following that and very good to have you and Henry back doing the paddock shows and things like that. It's become I'd say it's a regular thing now, isn't it? The paddock shows and being replicated in other areas.
Well, Chris, you know all about the paddock shows. They started here at Kartmasters with yourself and I. So, they've certainly taken off, haven't they, the paddock shows? People loving them. I think the paddock show from Thursday went out within like a couple of hours. It already had like 1,700 views and it was like, it's fantastic. It's great to actually involve the people in the paddock, seeing behind the scenes, because you don't get to see it, do you? You don't get to see it at all. It's one of those, you look at them out on track on the live stream and you think, wow, they're just like, they're rock stars, they're doing this, they're racing drivers. You go into the paddock, no, they're just kids. They're playing ping pong, one of their team mornings, or they're playing badminton out there. They just set up a little court and do that. But it is awesome to see. It's a proper atmosphere in the paddock. It's a family-friendly environment, and we, myself and Henry, we both absolutely love it.
I mean, we could talk all day. 2 commentators, it's pretty dangerous, isn't it? But I know you need to get down for qualifying.
I do, yes.
I'm going to end with our question of the day, question of the day in Live Lounge, and that is, I think it come to a good point here because we're just talking about paddock show. What is your favourite Kartmasters memory so far? I know you haven't had a huge amount compared to Henry, but what is your favourite memory? What's the one thing that sticks out for you?
The one thing that sticks out to me, I've only had the 3 of them. And, 2 of them have been sunny, 1 of them's rainy. And you know what? I've actually got to say, it was doing qualifying yesterday in the pouring rain, there with an umbrella, sitting there and just feeling, why am I doing this? Yeah. That's probably my greatest memory of it. But no, you've got to give it to some of the racing. I think I've got to give it to Honda Cadet last year. 20 karts battling for the race lead in the final. That was something I've never seen before. You couldn't put it on anyone. So Shame to not have Honda Cadet back here this year, but still, I hope that we see something very similar this year.
I think that's a good note to end on. Thank you for having us, Anthony.
Thank you very much. Yes.
It's been great to have you up. Have a good weekend. You can follow all the live coverage on the Alpha Live YouTube channel and catch all the paddock shows as well. But for now, we're going to say goodbye to Anthony and let him go down to the paddock in the pouring rain to report on some qualifying.
Thank you.